Halloween is a pretty big deal here in the US. I remember in Sydney how you would hardly see any Halloween merchandise in the shops, but here in the US, when it comes to October, you see decorations everywhere and the shops selling costumes. So it's celebrated a lot over here, and this was one of the displays that was in my neighbor's garden. I was just taking a walk in the morning and that's what I spotted. So for breakfast I had an apple date flaxseed smoothie. I used 500 ml of water, 2 apples, organic apples, plus about a teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 teaspoons of flax meal. I used organic dates as well. These were the dates that I bought online. They're from California, very tasty and good value. So I recommend buying this company if you're near California. So this smoothie makes just over 2 glasses, and this is one of my favorite smoothies for breakfast. Today I had it while playing a game called Ticket to Ride on the iPad. This is a game that I discovered through a board game with my friends, and I sometimes play online with other people, so if you see the username Meow Meow Mewtwo, that's me. I also studied a little bit for my Washington driver's test. I need to do the knowledge test because I'll be taking that test soon to drive in the US. I had one snack before lunch. It was one marshmallow from Trader Joe's. This is a vegan brand of marshmallows. It's really tasty, but I don't eat that much vegan junk food. For lunch I had some wheat noodles in noodle soup. So to make it, I just boiled the wheat noodles in water for a few minutes. Here I'm just pressing it down into the boiling water, and I'll leave that for a few minutes. While that's happening, I prepare the vegetables. I use some Chinese cabbage plus some frozen corn kernels and spring onions. After draining the noodles, I put them into a bowl and I prepare the soup. So I put about 300 ml of water plus 2 teaspoons of the veggie stock powder and half of a cube of the chicken stock powder. If you're making this at home, you might want to use more or less of those stock cubes or stock powder. Here I'm just separating the Chinese cabbage parts. I cut the stem in pieces so that I can put it in the soup first. So there it's boiling for around 4 minutes, and while that's boiling, I also add in the frozen corn kernels and start chopping up the cabbage leaves. I just cut them into strips like this, and when the stems are pretty much cooked, I add the leaves to warm up. Once they're wilted, you can switch off the heat and just let it sit for a few minutes. So this is done, and once those leaves are wilted, you can add the spring onion as how I've done. And this is what the finished product looks like. Tasty noodle soup. So that was my lunch, and before I went out again, I made sure that I cooked the wild rice in the pot, because in this pot it takes 90 minutes. So at the same time as cooking the wild rice, I cooked some chickpeas on top. These were soaked overnight and put in a steamer on top. Kenny and I went out to do some Pokemon Go stuff, and this is just us walking through the forest. It's pretty good exercise. And when we came home for dinner, I made some rice and beans. That was the wild rice that was cooking in the pot, and the beans is a recipe by Plant-Based Judy. It's slightly modified, but I'll put the link in the description box in case you're interested in that. And this is what the chickpeas turned out like. I just refrigerate this and use it later on. I find it much cheaper and tastier than using the canned version. For dessert, we made popcorn. We have our own popcorn maker, so we use some organic popcorn kernels. Half a cup of kernels makes a large batch of popcorn. Now you can tell who is filming this because there's a zoom into my butt there. And yeah, that's a pretty cool popcorn maker. This is the second time we've used it. And we discovered that a good way to make the flavoring stick is to use some maple syrup. We keep this oil free by using the maple syrup as the liquid part. Then we tried adding some rice seasoning. This is furikake, and we also added some rice crackers from Winco. So it's a mix of things. It gives it a Hawaiian flavor, and we're just mixing in the maple syrup with the rice crackers, and adding in the furikake. So you add as much of this as you want. You can add other flavors too. I've heard lemon juice is good, or even lime juice and chili powder, so it depends on how you want to flavor your popcorn. But this is a pretty healthy snack. It's low fat and oil free. I wouldn't recommend using the microwave popcorn. We used to do that in the past, but I've just found it too oily, and I've heard about the chemicals in the microwave bags, so we stay away from that now. And we just use this machine once in a while. It makes a huge batch. So we didn't get to eat all of this that night, but we kept some for later. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!